Thank you, Prakash sir. Warm greetings. The Department of Computer Science of Avichi College of Arts and Science cordially invite you to the webinar on digital revolution and its impact in near future. The guest speaker of today is Mr. Girish Velappan. He is the head of digital experience Infosys Europe. Welcome you to the program, sir. Before we hear from
Thank
the
you.
guest speaker, it's a small intro about our college. Avichi College of Arts and Science is a unit of AVM Rajeshwari Educational Trust. The trust was established by Sri AVM Rajeshwari and other eminent members of Rajeshwari family as its trustees. Avichi College of Arts and Science is a co-educational college affiliated to University of Madras. It's a brainchild of our secretary, Sri AVMK Shanmugam sir, and his motto is from nobody to somebody. We offer courses on BCom General, Accounting Finance, Bank Management, Corporate Secretaryship, Business Administration, BSc Computer Science, BSc Viscom, and other courses. We have what you can experience in Avichi. It's a multicultural campus, excellent infrastructure and facilities, congenial learning atmosphere, UGC qualified faculty with industrial experience, active sports, NSS, RRC, and other extracurricular clubs. Avichi mentorship program by industry leaders is a unique one of our campus. And we also offer enhancement of spoken English skills through various training programs. And the very first year, we have done internship with IIT Madras and the Hindu. We also have state of art studios, laboratories, well furnished gallery type classrooms, highly equipped library, regular industrial visits and field visits. And we are near to the bus terminus, Vadapalni. You can stay connected with us www.facebook.com of Avichi College. Then log on to www.avichicollege.edu.in. For admission related queries, you can write to admissions@avichicollege.edu.in. Learn from the pioneers. Come and experience the legacy of being an Avichian. With this small intro, may I now welcome Ms. Anjana to introduce the guest speaker of the day. Over to you, Anjana ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Today it's a great pleasure and privilege to introduce Mr. Girish Velappan, Head Digital Experience Infosys Europe. He's an engineer by profession, studied at SC MHRD. He started his career with Honeywell Technology Solutions, has worked with many companies like Active Cubes, Blue Star Infotech, Larsen & Toubro Infotech, versatile technologist. He now heads the digital experience vertical for Infosys Europe. It's a great privilege to have you today, sir. It's a long-awaited day for us. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being here. And we have a small formal welcome from our college.
Thank you. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks, everybody, for the warm welcome. It's always good to talk to and interact with students, especially. It's good to share some of the learnings that I've had. But more importantly, it's a great way to also hear from a lot of you and see what is coming up. As I was just before the call was starting, I was discussing with ma'am, right? So one interesting trend that is almost coming across is we think that we are technologists, we are the people who are giving direction to a lot of the companies in terms of how to shape their digital journey. But what we realized is, even though we are the experts, right? My daughter today understands technology much more intrinsically than some of the technologists. And that's the trend, right? So in the sense that technology needs to be usable, it needs to be intuitive. And the whole point of digital is so that it is available for everyone and everyone gets to use it. So there is definitely a lot of learnings that I'm looking forward to from this session, hearing from students what you're seeing, what are the different things you're experiencing. But along the way, obviously, I will share some of my thoughts and see what I can bring to the table. Yeah. So I will quickly go to share a small presentation that I have. Okay. So we keep talking of digital and digital revolution is here. We keep saying that now everything is moving to a digital world, right? But we first need to understand what digital means. And digital is so many things for so many different people, right? Digital to me has a very simple explanation. Earlier, if you had to have an interaction, let's say earlier you're looking to buy a car, right? Or a bike, what would you do? You would go to the showroom. You would look at the car or the bike, take it for a test drive, come back, and then come back home, discuss with your friends, with your parents, with people in your community. Is it a good vehicle? Ask all of that, and then say, okay, I'll make a payment. You go back to the store, you give cash, you get a challan saying that no, you have made a booking, and then you get your car. That was the car buying experience 10, 12 years back, right? Car or bike buying experience. Today, that same journey, how do you take that journey, right? First thing is you go online and you search, right? In Carwala or some website, whichever you're comfortable with. You first go online and search which is the best models, which are all the different types of options there, what are the different variants available there, right? But it doesn't stop there. Earlier, you used to ask your friends and your parents in terms of which is a good car or which is a good bike. Now you go, there are online reviewers, right? There are people who put in reviews of particular cars. There are people who have driven it for 40,000 miles who will tell you what are the problems you will encounter 2 years down the line, not immediately, right? You have all the information available there. Today, in a lot of Western countries, you don't even need to go to the showroom after that. You do all your research, you compare 20 different cars or bikes, and then simply say, buy a car, make your payment online. You just go to the dealership to pick up your vehicle, right? That is now the car buying experience, right? So what has happened is those physical points of interaction when you used to go and the salesman had to sell to you, all of that is replaced, right? Everything is happening digitally. And that is a change which is coming, right? It is already there. So digital revolution is not something sudden. It hasn't been happening overnight. It has been happening over years and the past decade, at least decade or two, right? And that is a change which is coming. And what we need to do today, therefore, is be ready for that kind of a world, right? Uh, the other thing is today we are all sitting, I'm sitting at home, all of you are hopefully sitting at home and watching this telecast, right? We're all in lockdown. We've been forced to stay at home and not do much. Just again, think of this lockdown about 10 years back, right? Today, what do? You have a lockdown. You do a little bit of studying. I'm sure you will do that, right? But after you do a little bit of studying, after you finish your online classes, then what do? You say that, okay, let me open Netflix, Amazon Prime, Sun Next, right? You have so many channels to keep you engaged. And then it's not just so many channels. There is someone in the living room watching something. There's someone watching something else in the other room, right? So different people in the family can view different content, right? Um, you don't have to watch one particular channel. There is no fight for the remote anymore. I don't know how many of you even remember that time, right? When you have to fight for the remote. But that is gone. Now you have information being streamed directly to you. You no longer, you do want to go out because you want to be outside, but you don't need to go out. If you need home delivery, you have your Amazon, you have Big Basket, you have so many of these companies who come to your doorstep and deliver, right? Swiggy, so many of them, right? So even in this lockdown experience, we have been able to get through with it with a little bit of sanity in our minds because of all these digital channels. Imagine again this lockdown without that. Some people think it'll be better because actually you'll close everything and go and interact with neighbors, but now you can't really interact, right? Social distancing, all of that. So there is definitely that change coming in with the whole digital revolution coming in. It's made our lives far more simpler than we could have imagined. It's made uh, uh, gotten into our lives very smoothly without really us noticing it. Today what we take as a granted thing, right, is something that 10 years back was unimaginable. And that is what digital revolution really can do for you, right? So the real question is, are we ready for it? And when I say are we ready for it, are we ready in different spheres of life? As a business professional, am I ready for it? As students, are you ready for it? As practitioners and industry people, are you ready for it? That really is a question, right? So again, I'll not have too many slides here. In general, my principle is simple, that if you can't explain it in 10 to 15 slides, and if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand the concept well enough, right? So I'll keep the presentation short. I hope to keep a lot more time towards the end for Q&A and interactions. Like I said, two parts to it. One is definitely happy to answer questions that you have, but it is also an important uh, occasion for me to get some feedback from a lot of you in terms of what you're seeing in digital. So again, right? So what does being digital mean, right? So there are these companies that we have seen being titans of the industry, right? The companies which were the absolute benchmark when it came to certain areas. Kodak, right? You remember the point in time when everyone, right, used to have a camera, right? Um, Everyone had those film rolls. I don't know how many of the students today will even remember that technology, but I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate it, right? The film roll, and before taking that, you had 30 images that you could take, right? So every image which was taken had to be like perfectly lined up. There is no, okay, let's delete this, right? So you had to take the perfect snap, which is why a lot of the photos that you see of your parents, grandparents, everyone's standing in attention, right? Because you can't. If you move a little bit, then your face goes gone. That's it. That photo is gone, right? So the Kodak was there. It was at that place where they uh, defined every picture, every moment of happiness was captured on a Kodak camera, right? Now where are they? They're gone. Do any of you even have a camera any longer? I know there are Viscom students on the call, and I'm not talking in terms of professional capacity, right? But when you go out, everyone carries your mobile, and that is really your camera, right? So that is, so if you don't adapt to what is coming, the changes which are coming, you will be out of it, right? And therefore, as companies, there are companies need to be aware of what is happening, and they need to change with time. In fact, there's a very interesting study that about 30 years back, the average age of a Fortune 100 company, the 100 biggest companies in the world, was 60 years, right? Today, the average age of Fortune 100 companies has come down to 15 or 20, right? So if you don't adapt quick enough, if you don't uh, uh, keep up to date with what's happening, you will be wiped out, right? Therefore, it is very, very important for companies to make those changes in how they take the product to customers. And being digital, right? See what it is. You have Uber, right? We have Uber in India as well. Uber in most countries in the world doesn't own cars. They don't own taxis. They don't own cars. They don't own drivers. They just say, you come, you bring your car, you bring your um, uh, uh, driving skills. I will get you customers. You do transaction, I take money, right? That is the Uber model, right? Netflix, they don't own any cinema, right? They do. They produce movies, but they don't own cinemas. They don't own cinema theaters. They're not projecting anywhere. But today, that is the primary channel of entertainment dissemination, right? Um, Today, in fact, Netflix has now come up with a lot of award-winning, Emmy-winning uh, broadcasts, right? So there is definitely that change coming in. Airbnb again is another fantastic example. Earlier to us, if you were traveling out, you go into a different city, you used to either go and stay with friends, relatives, or what you used to do is you used to go to a hotel, right, and stay there. Airbnb has again completely changed it. You just go, you stay there. Again, they don't own a single property. They just say that you come in, you bring in your house, you make it clean, you need to keep it to the standard. I will bring in customers. And just for bringing those two people together, right, the supply and the demand, they make money, right? And all of these are $1 billion plus enterprises, right? So imagine again, 15 years back, 15, 20 years back, if there had to be a hotel chain which had to be opened, it cannot be opened by anyone less than a millionaire, if not a billionaire, right? You needed to have money, you needed to have a lot of things to come and create that. Today, look at the $1 billion plus companies which are there, right? Whether it is Make My Trip, Flipkart, so many of these, right? They didn't require billions of rupees to create those companies. It was a good idea. They went, they created it on a digital platform, they sent it out, people accepted it, it was more convenient, done. Now they've created the so the whole entry barrier, right, has gone down very small. People no longer need to have crores and crores of money to enter a particular industry. You have a good idea, good concept, execute it well, you can get into any industry, right? So that is really what is happening with the digital world. Now, obviously, that has all been happening, right? But we are now, as I said earlier, we are living in the era of COVID-19, right? Sometime in the next 30, 40 years, you will tell stories to your kids and grandkids saying, it is so easy for you. You remember, you don't know how it was when I used to live during COVID times, right? Just like our parents and grandparents used to tell, that time I used to take a bus and I used to go and have a coffee for like 12 annas and go to college, right? That story we will someday be telling our kids and grandkids that you don't know how lucky you are to go and play outside. I spent 1 year entirely inside my house, right? We live therefore in that COVID era, but there is definitely a lot of impact of that. What the impact is, I was reading a very interesting article online sometime back, the past few days only. There was a story of this bridge in Honduras, an Latin American country. This bridge was basically built in the 1930s, right, over a river. And around 1990, they spent a lot of money modernizing it because Honduras as a country has always been hit by cyclones, right? They keep coming and they keep washing away everything. So the bridge was constantly being repaired. So in around 1990, they spent a lot of money uh, modernizing the entire bridge and making sure it can stand up to any storm. And a storm came, cyclone came, and the bridge stood. But what happened? Because the storm was so strong, it couldn't do anything to the bridge, but it changed the course of the entire river. So you can see here in this picture that that bridge is now a bridge from nowhere to nowhere, right? All that investment, all that money which was put in, all the effort which is put in is gone now, right? Uh, so therefore, the question is that whatever uh, you can only prepare for certain eventualities. There are certain eventualities which you can never prepare for. But however, this is not a gloomy session, right? This is not to say that whatever you learned, whatever you studied, whatever you know of, everything is gone. That is not the case, right? Some of the learnings will remain. You just need to change the mindset of how you approach certain areas differently. That is very, very important. And sometimes always think of this that the most obvious answer is not always the best answer, right? Again, the amount of money that they spent on this bridge, they could have probably done something else, right? Or they could have invested in some other things. Think out of the box, make sure that the most obvious answers are not always the best answers. That's a important aspect. So that was the gloomy part, right? But now let's get to the good part. So I was reading another report recently, and this is a projection of the e-commerce sales and penetration happening in US. Okay, it's very similar in India. The India studies are not yet published. We'll get to know that soon. But if you can see the graph here, right, uh, it is very clear that what growth and what e-commerce penetration was expected to happen in 10 years happened in 90 days. 10 years, you fast forwarded in 90 days, right? That has been the impact of what we're going through. If e-commerce is going along the same slope, it would have reached that point 10 years from now, but they were able to catch up the 10 years worth of growth in 90 days. And that is an opportunity area. And therein lies that you need to think of solutions outside the obvious, right? And therefore, that as students, as everybody else, right, we need to look at those opportunity areas and define that as the next growth paths. That's where we need to see how we get engaged in these areas. And again, right, The other interesting thing from that study also came is that today customers don't mind switching brands, right? Uh, about 40% of customers across the globe in at least 4 countries said they were willing to switch brands that they've been using for years today, right? So maybe you've been always using Ariel soap or Rin or whatever, right? But today, and that also comes with familiarity, right? So you used to go to a supermarket, you'll go in the first aisle, there they will have Rin soap, you take it, you put it in, you know where it is. It's a familiar thing, you pick it up, you come. Or in as I remember how my parents used to order provisions, right? Beginning of the month, they used to send a list to the provision store saying that get me this, and they used not even mention which soap, right? They'll say soap, dishwashing soap, and then whatever is given there, we take it and we just take it and we keep using it for years, years, years. That is now obviously changing because there are options. You sit online, you're able to access it, you're able to see information. But most importantly, right, today, marketing companies and companies in general are able to market to you specifically. If uh, any of you use Facebook, right, which everyone is, you will notice that the ads which are coming there are entirely tuned to your specific online patterns. You searched about a game, PUBG, whatever, right? You go and search about it, then you go and see that, okay, I want to see pizza, right? So the ads which come, therefore, would be related to that. There is highly targeted marketing which can happen today, which was not possible earlier, right? Earlier, it was one medium, it was radio or TV, right? And then through TV, you just push one ad for everyone, right? Maximum you could do is different timings, right? Afternoon time, you could probably put in some ads which are catered to homemakers. Evening, you could put in more ads, right? Which is why it is called prime time. Those slots were sold at lakhs and lakhs of rupees. But it was same ad which was pushed to everyone. Today, you can market to individual person, right? What that person's online behavior is, and therefore you're able to market to them. And therefore, there is a higher propensity for people to shift brands. They no longer need to be uh, locked in with one particular brand. And therefore, as companies, right, companies need to be more ready to market to that one person, right? Not one campaign for million people. So that is again a change which is coming, and therefore, as so we talked about e-commerce. This is about marketing, right? So how is digital marketing playing that whole wave there? And therefore, you do need to see how you can be engaged in this part of the journey as well. And yes, in summary, right, I think the impact of COVID-19 has been that in general, all the digital engagement channels, as I started earlier, right, I told that you have those points of interaction between the customer and the company, right? Earlier it was mixed. You used to have some on the physical world, some on the digital world. Today, everything is more or less on the digital world. And everything which is on the digital has seen a very steep increase, right? 37% increase in digital traffic. And imagine that in countries like India, right, which 10 years back, we didn't have proper bandwidth to even stream a song at that time, right? Today you can, there's bufferless transmission of videos, all of that happening. Uh, then there has been a very sharp increase in contactless engagement, right? Contactless engagement starts from everything from purchasing. I can go, I have a mobile. My mobile is now my supermarket. I open Amazon, Flipkart, Big Basket, whatever apps that you have, and you can shop, right? It is delivered to you without contact. The payment happens contactless. There's no cash being transmitted. Even if you end up going to a store today, in a lot of the stores, at least in the Western world, right? This is really a wallet, right? It's your phone. You just go and put your Apple Wallet next to the reader. You don't need to even touch it. it reads it and it goes, right? That the whole concept of contactless engagement has really increased, and not just for the obvious ones, right? Even if you look at non-obvious ones like verification. Earlier, you had to go, even in our companies, right, where we work, you had to go swipe your card, touch something, and do fingerprint scan, multiple other things, right? Today, that has been taken to a whole nother level, right? How can you do iris scan without contact, right? So you're sitting there, you're scanning. Contactless engagement has become really huge. E-commerce, I spoke enough about it, and how e-commerce is really becoming the next growth engine, and social selling as well, right? We talked about it, and in fact, there was also this joke, right, of how today there are more YouTube reviewers of movies than reviewers earlier. Earlier, your review has to be in a Hindu paper or in a TV channel, right? Today, everyone is a movie reviewer, and there was in fact some movies with a joke, right, saying that you make the payment, the producer does the payment, and then immediately reviews start getting better. I'm sure there are jokes, but the point is this influencers and people who are creating an impact to the social medium has gone up tremendously, right? Companies no longer can just make a good product and say that it will sell, right? You have to find out who are the digital influencers in your area, right? You need to engage with them. Today, if a new product is launched, the first demo products are actually sent to those influencers. They review it and then they publish reviews online, and then people go and buy it, right? So there is in fact something called cloud, a cloud score, which we actually use to track influencers for our customers, which are companies, to say that who are the influencers of your product, and how do you engage with them upfront, how do you give them all material so that they can put out good reviews, right? Make a honest review, really. That's really the objective. So that is again a huge change in how digital engagement is coming into play, right? So all of this is good, but now the question comes down to what does it mean for me? What do I need to do, right? And we talked about the Honduras bridge earlier, and as students, you may think that I've been learning something for a technology, for a market which may no longer exist, right? So are my skills still relevant? How do you go and get into the corporate world? So I'll give one small anecdote that I read recently. Uh, I saw an ad for asking for experienced programmers, right? And the ad said that we're looking for experienced programmers, a lot of details, right? But two lines are there. Should know React.js, because that was the technology for which they were hiring. And then they said should have at least 10 years of experience in this technology. The only challenge with that is React.js came in 2013, right? So how do you have 10 years experience in a product which is not 10 years, right? And I'm sure I've heard a lot of good things about your college, so I'm sure you have good industry connects. You will have a lot of placements, all of that coming in. But the question typically that a lot of you also face is, as freshers, I don't have experience, and companies say that I want experienced people. How do I have experience if I'm a fresher, right? One thing that we're seeing, and this is one thing which will, I'm sure, help a lot of you, is we are looking at a trend across industry, and this is not applicable just to freshers or graduates. This is applicable even to experienced and seasoned professionals in the industry. There is more and more moving away from specialization into T-shaped skills, right? So I'll explain what that means, and some of you may already be aware, but for benefit of others who don't. Earlier, people were looking at specialization, right? You are a computer programmer, you know how to code, you know how to develop, you know how to deploy, you know how to do production. You have the entire specialization going, right? And if you look at it, it was confined to one area. So if you were a Java programmer, you learned everything in that one area. And therefore, your skill was I shaped, right? Like a line. What has happened is then they said that, okay, no, but you know Java, but I want to develop an application for a retail customer, right? I want to create an app for a Flipkart, Amazon. Do you know how e-commerce works? Then people started realizing that it is not enough if you just have skills and specialization. You need to know something about the area or domain. And therefore, the knowledge of the domain which runs across, right? How does e-commerce work? What are the important aspects? Or banking? How does banking work? How does digital banking work? What are the important aspects? What are the terms which are used in this industry? There are certain regulations. What are those regulations? The knowledge of that, even if you didn't become an expert on that, but if the knowledge of having at least awareness of that became more and more important, which is why you had people becoming more horizontal. Now we talked about domain, and then we'll also talk about cross discipline, right? Now, I mean, earlier used to be a developer or used to be a designer and used to just do design and done with it, right? Today, a designer needs to know how programmer will code. Today, a designer needs to know how a digital marketer will sell their product, right? Again, aware, they don't need to be experts, but they at least need to be aware. And therefore, what we're seeing today is there is a lot of demand for people who come in with this T-shaped skills, not I and not a horizontal line either, but people who have the T-shaped skills who bring in awareness and experience across different domains while having a certain specialization are the kind of people who are taken up by companies, right? It starts at all levels, freshers, experienced people, leaders, all of them. So that is my one giveaway for all of you, is to say that while you are specialized in your area and we are focusing on whatever area you're studying, try to learn a little bit more horizontally. Today is also a world where information is available right across the digital thing, right? And it's not just information, it's really good information, right? There are courses from online learning places which are absolutely fantastic, right? uh, Earlier I remember the time when I was studying, and if I wanted to get a review from a MIT, right, uh, or from a Harvard business review, there is no way you could access those information. And even if you were to access it, you used to get like one newsletter once a month, right? That's all you could do. Today, all of these courses from the best colleges in the world, B schools, design agencies, everything is available online. There are courses like Udemy, Udacity, a lot of online learning things. So you don't need to just be restricted to what you get in college, which you should learn because that is your specialization. But do spend some time going across the horizontal to learn uh, the domain areas, cross discipline areas. Once you build that up, there will always be enough and more demand for such people in the market. So that's really a quick overview, and that's really what I wanted to share. And I told I'll take about 40 minutes to do the presentation. But that's really it. And open for questions, thoughts, interactions, anything now.
Lovely, sir.
Yes.
There was clear and simple. I now request Professor Anjana ma'am to take over.
Yes, sir. It was a very beautiful presentation today, especially the example that which you gave, the Honduras example, and how we should develop the T-shaped skill, which is now very important for us to have cross domain knowledge a little bit, and then in-depth knowledge of particular. I think it's a very good message you've posted here today. Very happy to know that. And all your examples, like how a digital growth in 90 days has happened, it's very, very wonderful. And yeah, we are waiting for the students to post in some questions. And you mentioned about these online platforms. It's very good. And one question which I have as a faculty
Sure.
If you don't mind, I can post. So, not only
Please.
on behalf of all the faculties, and how do you feel we can improve the standard of the students? And there is in India, especially, we see a divide between what the industry expects and what the curriculum is set at the university. So, how do you think we can bridge the gap in that?
So, it's a very good question, ma'am. I think typically, right? Sorry, you're going to say something?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a very good question, and even if you look at companies like Infosys, right? What we do is we recruit a lot of fresh graduates, and then when we recruit them, they don't immediately go to job, right? You just continue your studies, right? Then there is 3 months, 6 months more of going to the learning academies within the company to before you're ready, right? So there is that gap, right? That gap has been always felt, and I think it is one very simple thing that if you look, especially at technology companies, the change happens faster than the curriculum and the syllabus can be updated, right? If you look at some areas like civil engineering, right? Not much change. The way that you lay a road is still the way you lay a road. You can get better materials and all of that, but fundamentals don't change. But in especially in digital, Viscom or computer science and all of those areas, right? It is rapidly changing. So one thing which we have seen particularly work, and one thing which I personally believe in is syllabus is important because fundamentals always stay with you through your life. You need to know that, otherwise you will never succeed. But there needs to be more of a time spent on real world examples, right? So I'm a electronics and communication engineer, and I used to learn about something called microwaves, right? The theory of microwaves and how to do it. I never know how to use it, right? When I saw microwave in action was the first time, I told, oh, this is how it works, right? So one thing which really helps, and a lot of colleges is going towards this, is experimental learning, right? If we can have certain sessions a certain time allocated specifically towards just go and build a project on what is happening in the real world, it really helps. Again, I'll give a real life example. When I did my MBA, we had a course on stock markets, right? And there are a lot of theory and all of that. I come from engineering backgrounds, and went and joined the course. I really didn't know stock markets and what to do and all of that. The first thing the professor did is, and we're students then, right? So he walked in and he told, first thing you're going to do is you're going to take 10,000 rupees and put it in a bank account and then start investing in stocks. And 10,000 was very big amount at that time, right? So, and then when we put in that money, we learned much more than we learned from any other subject, because every day morning we used to get up and used to see, is my stock going up, down, do all the analysis, everything that syllabus, forget the syllabus, semester and all. We read the book upfront because it was my money which was going there, right? So that practical experience always has much more relevance in what's changing today. Therefore, even in Viscom, computer science and other things, if you can have experimental learning, working on projects which are real life today, I think that is the part to bridging the gap. You'll always have a little bit of gap, but that's okay. If you can bridge the gap, that is important.
Beautifully answered, sir. That's really with very live example. I think, yeah, we will focus on doing more projects, and that's one more initiative from our college to rope in all top companies like Infosys and people like you to have a session with the students, so that they will have the drive to whatever we say from the faculty side, it's always for them, it's from a they get a idea from a different perspective. Thank you so much, sir. We really got an insight on it. Thank you so much. Your presentation was very crystal clear. I think we don't have much questions from normally questions being posted. We used to analyze and filter out and then consolidate and post to the guest here. I think really tough to see questions. I think one question I've got. One student has asked, I don't know, one participant, what kind of skills should students develop from their college days? Any particular skill they're asking?
Yeah, so any particular skill. So like I said, right, I gave an example, the joke of the React JS job posting, right? Uh, that technology itself is only is under 10 years old. So one thing that I would always say is when you're building your skills, make sure that it is relevant in today's world, right? What is happening, and the simple thing, right, is if you like something, try to find out how it was built, right? If you think Amazon is fantastic, okay, whichever company, right? You please try to see how it was built. If you like Netflix streaming, find out how they do that, right? If you like a particular digital ad, find out what is it. That is usually the best things to build your skill, right? I earlier explained about the T-shaped thing, so that is the general concept. But the way to find out which areas to build, you are the best judge. If something appeals to you, right? If there's a digital ad which caught your eye, just try to find out how it was built, what all did they use to build it, and there's enough information available online to go and search and find that. That's how I would build my skills, and that's how I continue to build my skills. If I see something I like it, I find out how it was built.
I think it helps in a great way because I see you've joined Infosys at a very entry level, and I've grown up to being the head of the Europe head. So I think it's a very valuable point here. So what's one more question we have here, sir? One candidate, Nasreen Salma, has asked, "What is the effect of digital revolution on the society?"
That's a very good question. That is a very good question because we always, even in this presentation, right, we're focusing a lot on digital technologies and its impact on business, right? How it affects business. But digital revolution also has a huge impact on society, right? I gave one brief example in terms of entry barriers coming down, right? Uh, we spoke about how to create the next $1 billion company or multi-crore company, you no longer need to have crores to start it. Earlier, only a Tata, Birla could start a business. Today, anyone can start it, right? That is a very important aspect of how digital is impacting society, right? I remember when I was growing up also, right? There used to also be this thing that, oh, city grown boys and girls and people coming from smaller towns, right? Today, right, that all those barriers are gone, right? Someone sitting in different parts of the country, right, in the smallest village, is able to start something, create something, build something, right? So the impact on society is that it has broken down barriers, right? It has broken down entry barriers. Earlier, information which was only accessible to certain strata of society is now available across. So the opportunity is there. How you use that opportunity is up to you, whether it is to create business or on that. That is the positive side. The other side is the not so good side is that obviously you have this anonymity online, right? Imagine walking up to a person and telling that. Imagine walking up to a movie director and saying that your movie is not at all good. It was very bad, right? You'll never do that in person. But today you find it very comfortable to do that online, right? Because there's anonymity. No one knows who you are, right? The both flip sides are there, but I think the advantages over weigh the disadvantages, and therefore there is more open. The barriers are gone. That's the important thing.
Okay, so thank you. And one more question we have is digital the only way to the future becomings? Hari Prasad has posed this question. He's asking, is digital the only way out to the future?
Digital, is it the only way to the future? I don't I don't think so. But digital is a very important way to the future, right? It's like saying, is computers the only way to the future, right? Uh, uh, there are a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities, a lot of industries, a lot of avenues for growth outside of computers, right? But computer is an integral part today of society, and therefore, similarly, digital will be a very integral part. The only difference is you will not see where digital starts and ends, right? Almost every industry now is digital, so it will start becoming over. Again, like computers, right? Earlier computers were restricted to banks or to IT companies. Today, you cannot run a business, any business, without a computer. Uh, So that's.
And yeah, we have one more question here. Thank you, sir, for that. And does digital revolution really a threat to employment? This is from Mauli Priya.
That's also a good question, right? Because a lot of people come and say that I gave that example of that car buying journey, right? Of how you used to go to the shop, talk to the salesperson, and then do all of that. Salesperson used to sell to you, and then used to go and test drive, and then used to come. And then the new journey now is that you do everything online, right? Then where is the job for that salesperson? That salesperson job no longer becomes important or high paying or not available in enough numbers, right? So that is there, but if you look at what is happening, right, there is the amount of jobs which are being removed by digital. There are more number of jobs being added by digital, or equal number of jobs, right? The types of jobs are changing. So at some point in time, right, if you look at it, the primary means of employment in India used to be engineer, doctor, lawyer, other things, right?
Yes.
Today, the avenues of employment have increased far more, right? Uh, how many of you are, or when you watch YouTube, right, you see these people who just go play games on YouTube, or who just broadcast thoughts on YouTube. They get, you can also donate to them. They put their Paytm, all those details there. They're just making revenue of that, right? So these are people who are working in a line which earlier had no revenue chance, right? So there are newer jobs being created, and you just need to move to that and not think about the ones which are being replaced.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, there is one more question. What are the career options for designers in IT?
There is enough and plenty. I can probably do another 1 hour session on that, but there is enough today. There is design and IT go hand in hand. You cannot really see earlier, right? If even if you used to go to a bank, and some of the examples I give may not be immediately recollectible to a lot of students because you probably wouldn't have seen this. But if you have, right, earlier you used to go to a bank, the screen on the cashier terminal, right, used to be the green dotted thing with dot commands which are used to go in, right, dot prompts, right? Today you see how the interface is. It is much more easy to use. It is all clicking, and it is, you don't need training any longer, right? So today companies don't want to train their employees or their customers. Earlier you could invest 3 weeks, 4 weeks of training for IT. Today they don't have time for it, right? And therefore design is very integral, because if you design something which is very intuitive, right? Has anyone gone through a tutorial of how to use Facebook? No one, right? Everyone uses it. From a 6-year-old to a 65-year-old, everyone knows how to use Facebook because the design is intuitive. So design and IT go absolutely hand in hand, and there are enough and more opportunities.
We have one more question. Like, how is India's vision on digital? Companies like Microsoft, Google, and Geo are investing a lot. Is India becoming a place for investment from now and next 2 years? Where will India be at? So, what's your
See,
take?
I think it is very, the India story is not just being studied in India. It is, the India story is being studied in many parts of the world, right? We skipped a couple of steps, right? So we took the shortcut to digital revolution, right? We completely skipped the desktop revolution. We just didn't go there, right? We just went directly to a mobile, tablet kind of a revolution, right? So we skipped a couple of things. Today, if you look at telecom, right, the kind of plans, the data rates, and the data speeds which are there in India are some of the best and the cheapest in the world, right? I sit in Germany. I still have some internet issues, but I have not faced that in India, right? You'll have network congestion, but other than that, right, for the price point which is there, it is truly amazing, right? Then you also look at some of the stacks that we have in India. There is something called the India Stack, which esteemed founder of Infosys, Mr. Nandan, was involved in as well, where you can do your entire thing from your Aadhaar to your digital documents. Today, your records, everything can be digitized, right? Your home records, property documents, everything, right? So India has actually skipped a couple of things and it's taken the shortcut. India is actually quite advanced. We just need to find ways to make it more accessible so that it reaches everyone and not just the cities.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And there is one more question, like, in what way do Viscom students stand to utilize this digital revolution?
I think this goes back to the question of designers and IT as well, right? I think this is related in that sense is that you cannot do one without the other today. Intuitive design, human-centric design, that is the core part of any technology being built today. So just find ways, like I said, find out how what you do in Viscom and design has an impact across other areas, right? Technology, how it is built and other things. There are enough and more opportunities coming up in this area.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think your presentation is very clear, and we don't have any open questions now. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
Very patiently answering all your, maybe some questions here and there would have been very not up to your standard, but still you were very patiently answering.
No, there is nothing. There is nothing on standards in question. There is one thing. Just one last thing I will tell is that to everyone is that there is nothing called a stupid question, right? I have this person, okay, that I met once, right? He seemed familiar. He started talking to me, and he started talking as if he knows me from before, from many years, right? So I hesitated asking for his name, right? And then I used to simply say, "Hey, man," or things like that, without saying a name, right? And it after a week you can't ask him, right? After a week you can't ask him his name. So the stupidity on my part was I didn't ask him, "Hey, I forgot your name and what's your name," right? So there are no stupid questions. Ask the question before it sits and it becomes so big that you can't get it answered. So happy to answer everything, and thanks for the interaction.
Thank you so much, sir. We look forward for more sessions like this from you, and we want to, take your guidance in bridging that gap between the industry and the academic side. So thank you so much. We need to have a long connection with you. Hope whenever you're free, you can just actually all the guests we have been inviting to come to our campus. So because you're way too far, and now because of COVID. So whenever you happen to please open. Thank you so much, sir. It was really very good.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the invite. Next time in Chennai, I will come. Kandipa varen. Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Girish, sir. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science, the Department of English, Department of Viscom, the college, our Honorable Principal Major Dr. I. Baburatnam, sir, our Honorable Secretary, Mr. A.D.M. Shanmugam, sir, and other staff members and students, we wish to say a heartfelt thanks to you for presenting this wonderful eye-opening session to all of our students. So we thank you very much for being there and spending your valuable time in enlightening the students. So thank you so much. And we have this, during our introduction, we have this idea called this Avichi mentoring program, wherein we make students from nobody to somebody. So we wish to have you also to be in that area to mentor some of our students who wish to become good at the IT level. So thank you so much, sir. We wish to have you at that place also. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good interacting, everyone. Bye. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, attendees. Thank you, students. That was Mr. Girish Velappan, Head Digital Experience from Infosys Europe. So stay tuned with us and stay tuned with us at our Facebook page, facebook.com/Avichi College, and visit our website is www.avichicollege.edu.in. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.